Hello. So it wasn't showing that it was recording that. So we're chapter 2, part 2. Part D. If you recall, they were back in the American War of Independence, American Revolution time, and they have been taken for being three children: Prudence, Deborah, and preserved. And they're off to warn everybody that the redcoats, the British, are coming. And they've been put onto three ponies. Right, so goodbyes were said, and the mother of Preserved and Prudence and Deborah kissed Roger and Eliza and Anne, and didn't seem to sense any difference, though Anne had always heard that a mother could tell, and the four riders took to the road. Anne was pleased to discover, after a few minutes, that she could ride quite well. She even began to enjoy it. It must be the Deborah in her, she decided. Then she thought of the natterjack, and wondered if he was smothering under the fur-lined cloak the mother of Deborah had buttoned round her, or if the motion were making him seasick, but she couldn't get at her pocket to see. It was 12 by Roger's new wristwatch as they came out of the woods onto the main road, because he looked and decided his watch must be a really good one to keep pace with the sudden way time had been changing. Paul Revere's just crossing the bridge into Medford town now, he remarked. The man in the greatcoat threw him a surprised look. You seem to know all about it, he said. Our counter-espionage system must be doing well in these parts. I was just quoting Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, said Roger. I don't know the gentleman, said the man, but if he is a son of liberty, more power to him. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow is a famous American poet and writer. I don't know the poem myself, but I know him, well, of him. A mile or so beyond the turning, the road forked, and a huddle of dark houses could be seen up ahead in either direction. The gentleman in the greatcoat slowed his horse. You take the high road, he said, and I'll take the other. Knock at every door. Tell all brave men we meet by the rude bridge that arched the flood. Don't let Lexington and Concord do it all. Lexington and Concord are towns. He galloped away to the left, and the three children pressed forward on the right-hand road. At the first house they reined in. Well, said Anne. Come on, said Eliza, not that it makes any difference. The Minutemen, the Americans, won anyway. You never can tell, said Roger. Maybe the real Deborah and Prudence and Preserve did ride that night. Maybe if they hadn't, not as many Minutemen would have been ready, and the whole war might have ended differently. At least we're doing our bit. And he jumped from his pony and ran to give a loud knock on the door. I think they're called Minutemen. No, look it up and check. But I think they were called Minutemen because they weren't like a regular army. They were basically the American settlers and farmers and everybody who were revolting against the British rule. And the idea of the Minutemen was that they were at home. They weren't out with the army, but they were ready. They were like a militia that was ready in a minute. The man who appeared at the window after the third knock had his nightcap on and was not pleased at being disturbed. But when he heard the news, he ran to load his musket and dress and head north to join the Patriot troops. It was the same at the second house, and at the third. The man had 3 strong grown-up sons who would march with him. That makes 6 extra Minutemen so far that might not have got there if it weren't for us, said Roger, in satisfied tones. Why don't we run into any Tories or traitors, said Eliza. This is getting monotonous. It means they're all on the American side. Because there were a lot of people who, in that time, who had come from Britain and who didn't want to revolt against the British rule. There were whole areas of America that were loyal to the British Crown because they thought it was a treasonous thing to be revolting and trying to overthrow the British rule. They were riding along a stretch of highway with no houses now, but in the distance another building showed, this one with lights at the windows in spite of the late hour. As the 3 children rode up to it, they saw that it was a wayside inn, but it did not look like one that would have been recommended by Mr. Duncan Hines if he had been alive in those days. I have no idea who Mr. Duncan Hines is. I assume some sort of reviewer, writer who recommends restaurants and places to go. Its aspect was ramshackle and its garden overgrown. Its windows were dirty. Over its doorway a sign clanked on rusty chains. The sign read, "The Hanged Man," and from within came a sound of raucous voices raised in ribald song. "We don't have to go in there, do we?" said Anne. "Of course! This is the best part yet," cried Eliza, jumping down from her pony. "Follow me!" So of course they had to. The ribald song broke off, ribald means a bit rude, as Eliza made her dramatic entrance into the tap room of the inn, followed, less dramatically, by Anne and Roger. A dozen evil-looking fellows sat hunched over mugs of grog, served by a bold-faced lady who stood behind the bar. "To arms!" announced Eliza in thrilling tones. "The British are attacking!" "What? Where?" cried most of the men, running to the windows to peer out into the darkness. "They're not here yet," said Roger. "They're stopping at Lexington first." "Oh, why didn't you say so? Let them take care of it then," said nearly everybody, sitting down again and calling for more grog. Eliza's dander rose. "Shame on you," she cried. "What does it matter where they attack first? Aren't we all in this together? Aren't we the United States of America?" Well, at that time, they weren't. But anyway, a burly, dark-browed man put down his mug with a scowl and a thump. "No," he said. "No, we ain't. And if you ask me, we're not going to be. Once we're free of the pesky British, it's every man for himself, I say." "Why," cried Eliza in tones of outrage, "that's anarchy." "None of your big words," growled the man, peering at her suspiciously. "Who be you, anyway?" "'Tis Master Whiten's children, from the great house on the cliff," put in the bold-faced woman from behind the bar. "Aye, that Master Whiten," cried another man. "He be ever stirring up trouble with his radical talk of unions." "Sooner should he keep his brats safe home a-bed o' nights, instead of wandering the highway preaching seditious talk," muttered a third man. The black-browed man lurched to his feet. "To the devil with you, Master Whiten," he cried. "To the devil with your United States of America. What's Connecticut to me, or me to Connecticut? Nay, or New York neither. To the devil with all the thrones, dominations, and princely powers. To the devil with the Continental Congress." And all the men drank to this and pounded their mugs on the table. The Continental Congress was a sort of like a parliament, a meeting of people that made the Declaration of Independence and politically led the revolt. Even the mild-natured Anne was provoked to wrath. "Why, you nasty thing," she cried. "What are you, pro-British?" "No," said the black-browed one. We ain't pro-anything. To devil with King George too." And he and all the men drank again. Anne had put back her cloak in the warm air of the inn, and the warm glow of anger, and the noise of the pounding mugs had waked the Natterjack, which had been lulled to sleep by the rhythm of the ride. Now it began to sit up and take notice. It peered out of Anne's pocket, just in time to hear these last words, and its British blood boiled. "Rule Britannia!" it shrilled suddenly. "Merry England for ever! Britons never shall be slaves!" There was a silence. "Who said that?" said the scowling black-browed man. Everybody looked at Roger and Eliza and Anne. One or two rude ones pointed. The black-browed man moved menacingly over to the three children and stood glaring down at them. "Aha," he said, "I see it all now. These brats are spies, aye, and they're fine talking pa too, always prating of liberty and union, and all the while the deepest-eyed traitor of 'em all, sending these young limbs to distract us with false reports and lead us astray while the redcoats attack and burn our houses and our wives and children." "No, we're not, honest," said Roger. "He confesses it," cried the man, mishearing Roger's words on purpose. "No, we are not honest," he cries, and never there was a truer word spoke. "Away with them to their own house and burn it to the ground for a nest of Tory turncoats." "No, don't do that," cried Anne, thinking of the kind mother and the nice man with the bandage. "Don't worry," muttered Roger. "The house didn't really burn. It's still standing." So they'd come from the future. "That doesn't signify. Maybe somebody built it up again afterwards," muttered Eliza. A ring of hostile faces surrounded the three children, but Roger squared up to them. "You make me sick," he cried. "You wouldn't fight when you could be a help. Oh, no, but when it's a question of picking on innocent people, you're all patriotic all of a sudden." "Stow your gab," cried the black-brown man, "and speak the truth. Are the redcoats attacking, and if they are, where?" "We told you," said Roger stoutly. "We did speak the truth." "We're not spies, we're American patriots," said Eliza. The Natterjack chose this moment to sing "The British Grenadiers." "You hear?" said the black-browed man. "The bigger one's brazen it out, but the small one gives them away." "I didn't," said Anne indignantly. "That wasn't her, that was him," cried Eliza, desperation taking the place of grammar. She pointed. "Oh, to be in England," remarked the Natterjack, "now that April's here." The people looked where Eliza was pointing. They saw the toad-like creature teetering on the edge of Anne's pocket, and fell back in horror. The black-browed man was the first to recover. "'Tis witchcraft," he cried. "See the small witch with her familiar by her side. This be worse than ever. To the ducking-pond with them." "Nay," said another, "roasting be the best cure for witches. To their house, and roast the old witch family." "Why not both?" said the black-browed man. "Duck first, and roast afterwards." This suggestion proved popular with the crowd. A dozen hands seized Roger and Eliza and Anne and hustled them through the door. Outside, the April wind blew chill. "You can swim, can't you?" called Eliza to Anne as they were borne along. "Just dog paddle," admitted Anne, trying to sound brave. The pond was beyond the stable yard, lying cold and dank and dark under the steely stars. Anne's teeth chattered to look at it. "Now then," said the black-brown one, "up with them and swing them out over it, with a 1, 2 and a 3. On the third swing let go. If they be witches, the devil will help them swim, and they can be dried off and roasted. If they're not witches, but just spies, they may sink, and good riddance." It's not much of an option, is it? If they can float and swim, then they're witches. If they aren't witches, then they drown. 1, and Eliza and Roger and Anne swung out on the chilly air. 2, again they went swinging over the murky depths, and it was then, as all breath failed, that the next thing happened. A war whoop sounded from the woodland hills all around, and 100 savage painted Indians ran howling down upon the inn yard. Those who were holding Roger and Anne and Eliza dropped them, fortunately, upon dry land. The 3 children huddled in each other's arms and watched the scene of carnage that followed. Tomahawks sliced and arrows whirred, scalps were lost, blood flowed. From the first, the white men were hopelessly outnumbered. "Good, there goes that mean one," said Eliza, as the black-browed man toppled to the ground. Roger and Anne were not so pleased. "This is awful," said Anne, covering her eyes. "Don't worry, it didn't happen," Roger comforted her. "Not really. History would have mentioned it." "Then we must have done it," said Anne. "We came back through time and made history worse." Eliza was more practical. A horrid thought had suddenly occurred to her. "What happens when they kill all the rest?" she said. "Then do they tomahawk us?" She turned to the Natterjack, where it still crouched on the edge of Anne's pocket. "Can't you do something? How do we get out of here?" "Same way you got in," said the Natterjack calmly. "I trust you still had plenty of time." Eliza scrabbled among her clothes. At first she couldn't find the lilac-flowered plant. Then, just as the last white skin bit the dust and the Indians circled howling round the 3 children, she located it, where she'd thrust it down in the bottom of her jumper pocket. "Quick, take a big whiff," said the Natterjack, and the 3 children did. A second later the tumult and the shouting died, and they found themselves once more sitting on a flowery bank by the sea on a sunny June morning in modern times. "Phew," said Anne. "That," said Eliza, "is putting it mildly." "It was all going fine for a while," said Roger, "then it got crazy." Eliza glared at the Natterjack. "Really," she said, "some creatures." She probably rolled her eyes at him, Lillian. The Natterjack gave an embarrassed cough. It said, "I'm afraid I forgot myself there for a moment, but their talk was more than flesh and blood could stand. After all," and it puffed itself out proudly, "I'm a Briton. Besides," it added, with a severe look at Eliza, "I warned you not to be greedy. Wasting time never pays. Better put that plant back while you can." The tuft that was clutched in Eliza's hand looked pretty grubby by now, what with all it had been through, but when she poked it back into the earth, it seemed to perk up and grow again, and looked as good as new. "That's better," said the Natterjack. "Dangerous thing to leave lying about, time is, especially that sort there. That there is wild time." "No wonder," said Roger. "It was wild, all right," said Eliza, making a joke. Pun. Wild as in growing wild, and wild as in a wild time. "How many kinds of time are there?" said Anne. "As many as you'll find in the garden catalogue," said the Natterjack. "And now," it added with a yawn, "it's nap time." It shut its eyes and would say no more, no matter how hard Eliza poked it. Anne got up and started away purposefully. The others followed. She went right round the house to old Henry's potting shed. Old Henry looked up from a tray of Canterbury Bell seedlings and eyed the 3 children coldly. "Please," said Anne, "may we borrow your garden catalogue?" "What put that idea into your head?" said old Henry suspiciously. No messing about with my boarders, mind. Oh no, Anne assured him. I just want to look up about the different kinds of time. All three children thought they saw a change come over old Henry's grim countenance, almost as though he were pleased at something, though that could hardly be. "Oh ho," he said, "so that's the way, is it? Look your fill then, but no mucking about the garden with it and leaving it out in the rain now." "We won't," said Anne. "We'll look at it right here." And sitting down on the doorstep, she opened the book and found the place among the teas. "For heaven's sake, there's a whole page of them," said Eliza, bending to read over Anne's shoulder and breathing down her neck. "Timus Serpillum," Anne read slowly from the list, stumbling over the big word. "Creeping time." "What's that supposed to do? Turn us back into mere creeping babes?" said Eliza. "No, thanks." There's lots more kinds," said Anne, her eyes travelling down the page. "Silver time, golden time, lemon time, woolly time, and—" There was an interruption. Old Mrs. Whiten appeared on the path. She was wearing her old-fashioned bathing dress again. Following her was Jack, wearing his bathing suit. "Come along, children," said old Mrs. Whiten. "It's swimming time." I don't think that's a variety of time. There we are. Right, so that's the end of chapter 2, and we will do chapter 3. I'll try and do a few over the weekend, so you have a stock for the week. Okay, lots of love, sweeties. Bye-bye.